Hold on one second. Let me go ahead and record. It is now recording. So again, homework out. Make sure you keep it organized. Let's go over whatever problems you have. So if you have any questions, I will go over as much of this as you guys want to see.
I got a question about Friday. Are you gonna give us homework on the weekends?
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes not. But like I said, you actually have about a week to do it, right? Now, a week to do it. I hope that you're staying up, because if you get behind and we're online, it's going to be hard to make it up. I'm never going to kill you guys with homework, and I realized I say that, and last night I gave you like 27 questions. But I also, if you notice, I don't have anything planned, no new notes. We're going to go over this and make sure that you know how to do this. Okay. So let me pull this up. What questions do you have from last night? And by the way, I say, what questions do you have from last night? Some people had this absolutely down. So I do want to go over this. Make sure you don't have any questions. If you've got it absolutely down, your assignment is going to be 65 through 91 odds. Same worksheet.
I have a question about number 5.
About number 5. Awesome. So let me pull it up, and then we'll do some of it together. Yeah, question. You want? Do you just want to see me walk it out?
Yeah, I started to factor it, but then I kind of got stuck. Every other problem I'm fine about, but I just got stuck on 5. Yeah. And then 17 as well, if you could.
Yep, 5 and 17. So let's start with number 5. So if you wouldn't mind, just so I don't have to keep going back and forth, will you read off number 5 for me?
It's 9x4.
9x to the 4th, okay.
9x to the 4th, sorry. Minus 18x to the 3rd.
Okay.
Plus 27x squared.
Okay. So, and reminder, everything that we're doing this week, these are all prereqs going into our first chapter. So I really want to make sure, A, you guys have a decent grade going into the more difficult stuff, and B, that you understand this prereq stuff. Also, if you are completely overwhelmed by this stuff, and I'm not suggesting anybody should, but the drop date is Friday. So if you're thinking, man, this is too hard, this is too much, I should probably drop, the drop date is Friday. Now, and realize we really haven't started to get into this yet, but this is about the pace we'll go. In fact, a little bit faster. First rule to factoring is always look to pull out a common factor first, which would be 9x squared. So 9 divided by 9 is 1. I had 4 x's. I have 2 left. Negative 18 divided by 9 is negative 2. I had 3 x's. I took 2 out. 27 divided by 9 is 3. I had 2 x's. I took it out. Now, I should look and see if I can factor this trinomial any further. But I see that this is a plus sign, which means my factors of 3 would have to add to be negative 2. So my factors of 3 are only 1 and 3. They can't add to be 2. They would add to be 4. So this is actually my final answer. Devin, what was the other one that you wanted to see?
17.
And read it off for me, please.
X squared plus 5x plus 6.
Okay. So again, part of the reason we're doing this is just to knock some of the cobwebs off here. But let's start real simple. So make your parentheses. I always start by looking at my second sign. It's a plus, which means your signs are the same. So what are they going to be? The same as the first. My only factors for x squared. My factors of 6, because my signs are the same, they must add to be 5. So factors of 6 are either 6 and 1, so 6 times 1, or 3 times 2. And I know that 3 plus 2 is 5, and that's your final answer. Anybody else? Any questions at all?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, go ahead, Logan.
I don't know if I was like losing my mind, but I couldn't find number 47.
Okay, what's it say? Number 47?
There is none. I couldn't find it.
Oh, you couldn't find number
I couldn't
47.
find it either.
No.
Mine was the same way.
Okay, well, let me look. Sorry about that.
47 and 48 aren't on there, I don't think.
Well, it got cut off. So sweet. All right. No worries. So you only had like 21 to do now. Perfect. Yeah, I didn't realize that. Okay.
I also was wondering, 43,
hmm
is that prime?
It is not. So that's sum and difference of squares. Now, we hadn't fully talked about that. So it's 9x squared minus 25y squared. Which one was that again? 45?
43.
43. So it was, what was it again? 9x squared?
Minus 25y squared.
So from everything that you guys, that we've talked about and you guys have learned, whenever you have two terms, a binomial, always look for difference of squares. Now there's another thing, there's sum and difference of cubes, which I think you guys learned in Algebra 2. But we'll talk about that again here coming up like next week. I don't expect you to completely remember that. But if you have two terms, look and see if is it a perfect square minus a perfect square. Well, 9's a perfect square and x squared is, so is 25. So that is a difference of squares, which means your signs have to be opposites. The square root of this. So the y just goes to the end. So as long as I can take the square root of both terms and they're separated by a minus sign, you can do it. It's difference of squares. All right. Anybody else have any questions? Anything they want to see?
I was having trouble with the perfect square trinomials just because we didn't really review them yesterday, so I was just kind of confused. On what to do.
So I put that on there just because of how it's worded, but it works exactly the same. Pick any one of them and let's do it together.
I guess 53.
Okay, what's it say?
4x squared.
Okay.
Plus 4x plus 1.
Plus 4x plus 1. So this works. It is just factoring. One of my pet peeves is it giving too much information, like say factor the perfect square, factor the binomial, whatever it is. It's just factoring. If they would just say factor the expression, that would eliminate a lot of confusion. Now it said it's a perfect square, and that just means that whatever's in both of these parentheses has to be exactly the same. So ultimately you could write it like this, okay? So if they told you it's a perfect square, they were actually trying to give you more information than you needed. So let's fill in the signs. They're the same, both positives. Factors of 4x squared that are the same, again, always start with the ones closest together, are 2x and 2x. And my only factors for 1 are 1. Now that fits the rule, but let's make sure, let's go ahead and check it. 4x squared plus 2x plus 2x, that's the 4x plus 1, it works. So it really should be written like this. This is not wrong at all. In fact, that's perfectly fine. This is just a cleaner way to write it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions from last night's homework? Again, I know the assignment was kind of long, but it shouldn't have actually taken you guys too much time.
Could you do 51?
Sure. Let me clear this off. What's number 51 say?
X squared minus 14x plus 49.
So same thing. The instructions probably threw you off more than anything else. Follow your rules of factoring, which means look at the second sign first. It's a plus, which means your signs have to be the same as the first one. So it's got to be minus minus. My only factors for x squared are this. And what are my factors of 49? that add up to equal 14. So that could be your final answer, but this should be your final answer. Any other questions?
Can you do 21?
21? Sure.
Yeah.
What's it say? Read it off.
X squared minus 8x plus 15.
Plus 15. So again, look at the second sign. It's a plus, which means your signs have to be the same. So they both take on that first sign. Factors of x squared, again, you want to try and keep it balanced. Factors of 15, if my signs are the same, my factors, what multiplies to be 15, that adds up to 8, are 5 and 3. Again, the order doesn't matter. So this is your final answer. If you wrote this, that also is perfectly fine. You'll get the same answer. So either of them are fine. Other questions? Diego.
Okay, so it's on 21. I get it, but like I got the same answer. I just did like one parentheses like x squared minus 8x plus 15 in the parentheses like first, and then I got x minus 5 and x minus 3.
Yeah. So, and that's perfect. So, so Larry, let me ask you, why'd you put that 1 there? Why'd you do that?
I just did it like because like when you're, I forgot what it's called, like, but like when you're multiplying, like I did the which one goes into all, so I just put 1.
Okay.
outside the parentheses.
So, and that's perfectly fine. So the greatest common factor is 1. So what you did is fine, but you really don't need the 1 at all. That's not wrong in the least because it's actually there. All right. We just don't see it. So if he did this first, that's fine. In fact, he could have done something else because your factors, what multiplies to be x squared, that's really a 1x squared right here too. So a lot of times I will write this just for good measure, but we don't need any of those 1s. That's still good. So minus 5 and minus 3, this is perfectly acceptable, but you don't need any of those 1s as coefficients or as the greatest common factor because if I don't see it, it's already assumed. Okay, but that's perfectly fine. Good job, Larry.
Okay, and just can you just do? Did we do 15 already or no?
What's it say? I don't know. I can do it again.
Like 3x to the third minus 2x squared minus 6x plus 4.
6x plus 4?
Yes. Negative. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we haven't done one of these yet. This is, I think, what, number 15? So, and here's the thing. In about a week, maybe 2 weeks, we're going to need all of these skills. So why I will quickly go over it again, I'm not going to reteach it from scratch. So after Friday, we are moving on from this. And now it's going to kind of be assumed that you know how to factor. That doesn't mean you're never going to have questions again. But every time we go over it, it should be a quick reminder or a quick review instead of teaching it from scratch. So anytime you have 4 terms, you need to look to factor by grouping, okay? So factoring by grouping, I'm going to look at these 2 and see what can I pull out. The greatest common factor is x squared. Now, that was the greatest common factor. So I need, whenever I pull this out, I need the parentheses to be 3x minus 2. So what can I factor out of negative 6x plus 4 to get 3x minus 2? So what can I divide negative 6x to get negative 3x?
2.
It's negative
Negative
2.
2.
So make sure that that sign goes with it. Whether it's positive or negative, make sure that that sign goes with it. Now, when you're writing your final answer, you put the 2 common factors together, and then you write this just once. Now, you are, on this problem, we are finished, but you're not automatically finished here because, again, you have to check and make sure that this is not a difference of squares. For instance, if that would have been an x squared minus 4, I would have had to have kept going.
Okay, and when you would have kept going, what would you have done? So would you just have square rooted both of them and then got like,
So yeah, I'm gonna write so let's just call this like 15b.
okay.
So let's say I had x squared minus 9 and I have like a 2x plus 1. So this is what I got when it's all done. And I think, all right, sweet, that's my final answer. I have to check the term that has the quadratic.
Right.
So by the quadratic, that just means I have to check the quantity that has the squared. If this is a perfect square minus a perfect square, you factor it even further. So it's got to be opposite signs, square root, and
Okay.
then 2x plus 1. Okay?
Yep. Thank you.
You're welcome. Other questions on the homework?
Can you do number 27?
Sure, what's it say?
6x squared minus 11x plus 4.
Minus 11x plus 4. Good. And I was actually expecting to have to do most of these. And as you guys can see, this is kind of how I run my class. I don't want homework to ever be a got you thing. I want to make sure that you guys are paying attention, that you know how to do this stuff. I will walk you through it. Make sure that you're asking questions. Make sure that you're learning. So this should never just be about getting the answers or moving on. I want to help you guys get this so you can be successful, not just here, but in college also, or whatever your next class is. So we've got 6x squared minus 11x plus 4. I cannot pull out a common factor. So let's do it one step at a time by filling in the signs. If my second sign's a plus, that means my signs are the same, so they have to be minus, minus. Now, I'm going to go a little slower on this one because this is the type that most people struggle with. My factors for 6x squared, I need to list them. Again, this is in the notes from the other day, but they are either 3x and 2x or 6x and 1x. And we really haven't done an example where it hasn't been the two closest together yet. It's possible that those work, but I want to start with the two closest together because about 90% of the time, that's how it turns out to be. My only factors of 4 are 4 and 1 or 2 and 2. Now, a quick reminder, I could not pull out a common factor, which means I will never be able to pull a common factor out here. So guess what? Right away, I know that 2 and 2 is not a viable option. Why not? Because if the 2 went there, I would have a common factor. So instead, let's try 4 and 1. Can the 4 go here? No, because it would have a common factor. So you have to check your outers and your inners. So by you having to check, 3x times -1 is -3x. -4 times 2x is -8x. And does the middle term match? It does, so we are finished. This is your final answer. Questions? No more questions?
I have one. So the -11x is the answer, or
No. That -11, I'm making sure
Just
that this
confirms
answer
it.
actually works.
Okay, that's what I thought. I just want to make sure.
Yep.
That's what I thought. Thank
So
you.
this is my answer. Once I see that these match, I know that my answer was correct. That's basically me just checking it. Okay.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Do you think you can do 34 real quick?
Yeah, what's it say?
15x squared minus 19x plus 6.
Yeah. So same thing, look to pull out a common factor and I can't. Signs, because that's a plus, they have to be the same. They will both be minuses. My factors of 15x squared are either 5x and 3x or 15x and 1x. I always, always, always start with the two closest together. Factors of 6 are 6 and 1 or 3 and 2. Let's try 3 and 2 first. 3 cannot go here because I would have a common factor. Let's see if this works. Your outers, your inners, and that does equal negative 19x, which means this is it. So once you get used to doing things following these rules, it's actually a whole lot easier than bottoms up.
What number is that?
I don't know. I think it was an even, actually. I think he said like 34.
Yeah, it was 34.
Okay, cool.
So you didn't have to do it, but there's nothing wrong with more practice. By the way, that is something else. I usually like to assign like odds only or evens only so that we can go back, and especially if you need help or need to see more examples, now we have some in the book that you can try on your own and then ask me. So, yeah, anyhow. Any other questions at all?
Yeah. Can we do some that I have on the homework today, by any chance?
Yeah, that's fine. So
Okay,
let me go
good.
ahead and say this. We have about 20 minutes left in class. And I am going to do this occasionally, and I can't promise it's going to be every week, but I am going to do this occasionally where we are just sitting and you guys can ask questions. We can go over this. We'll take it a little bit further, but I want to make sure that we don't move on, to something, because once we start moving on out of this, I am going to be working, and I have to work under the assumption that you know how to do this. So I want to slow down, and I cannot stress it enough. Make sure, as you guys can see, you should get 100% on this first homework. I've just gone over more than half of your problems with you, and I'm fine with that. This isn't always going to be the case, but I really want to make sure that you understand what's going on. So let's go ahead. Anything from tonight's homework that you guys, and really, you've got the next 20 minutes, you guys can just work on your homework. Again, you can have it under the same one. So today, this is going to be still, I'll say like number 65 from your worksheet 1. Okay, that's how it's going to look. So just keep it organized. So which one did you have a question on? And go ahead and read it off.
85.
Okay, what's it say?
X squared minus 12x plus 36 minus 49 y squared.
What
Alright.
was our homework? Like, to what number are we going to again? Are we just finishing the worksheet?
No, it was the odds. Basically, that last section.
91.
Yeah, 65 through 91, right? Odds. Let me see.
Yeah.
Okay. Where to go? Okay. So here's the thing. I have 4 terms, right? So if I have 4 terms, that means the only way right now that we know how to do it with 4 terms is to factor by grouping. So if I sit here and I group these together and I've got this, then I'm grouping these together and my greatest common factor, I just can't get the x minus 12. Guys, on some of these, especially if you're truly lost, like, man, this doesn't look familiar. Well, guess what? This one is unfactorable, which we call what again?
Prime.
Prime.
Which we call prime. Now, here's a big indicator that I want you guys to see. Now, this might not be prime if, you see how this is y squared? If this would have had a y here, now to me, that says, oh, I can pull something a little bit more out. But because this was y squared, I knew that there was no chance that this would end up being exactly the same. Okay? So this one is prime. There was just no way to simplify that any further. You couldn't pull out a common factor. You couldn't do anything else. So 85 was prime. And I think there's a couple that are prime on there. What other questions do you have for today? And I can just sit back and wait for you guys to ask. Yeah, we've got about 15 more minutes of class. So I'm just going to chill here. And when you have questions, I'm more than happy to answer.
I have a question on 81. It's y to the power of 5
Okay.
minus 81y.
Awesome. So I'm glad that you said this. So I think that we only did one example like this. So this is just a reminder. Your first rule of factoring is to pull out a common factor first, right? So when I pull out a y, now I can kind of prove to you that we did something like this. Not that I need to, but let me go ahead and show you. Hey, where did it go? I don't know where it went. Because I thought it was on that page. Oh, no. There it is. X to the fourth minus 81. So we've done something just like that. So that's why a lot of times I kind of like you guys to do it on your own, at least start it on your own, why I don't mind. Let's go back to that page. It's because a lot of times I will see things ahead of time, especially looking at your assignments, knowing or thinking where questions might be. Where did it go? I'll just use the next one. There we go. There we go. Okay. So I can't remember what it was. I'll write it down again. I had y to the fourth minus 81. So anytime I just have a binomial, look for difference of squares. So that is a perfect square minus a perfect square. So opposite signs. The square root of y to the fourth is y squared. The square root of 81 is 9. Am I done?
No, because those are still perfect squares.
No, because I still have a difference of squares. Notice this is y squared plus 9, so that's done. But this one is a perfect square minus a perfect square. So, and I understand there's a lot of stuff about this that's tedious that you have to look out for. We are really working on just getting better and better every single day, okay? So that's your final answer. Other questions?
Uh, 87.
All right, what's it say?
9b squared x minus 16y minus 16x plus 9b squared y.
All right. So let's look at this real quick. So it's 9b squared x. I want to make sure I'm reading this off correctly. Minus 16y minus 16x plus 9b squared y. So one thing I haven't shown you, which I could, is I don't have to keep this in the same order. I could rewrite it like this. In fact, I don't even like the way I just did that because I see that I have an x first, then the y. So I can rewrite this. Now, because I have 4 terms, I'm going to look to factor by grouping. Now, I didn't have to do this. I could do it another way. But to me, this makes it even easier. So is there anything that I could pull out of these two to get x plus y?
-16.
That's exactly right. And again, this is one of those upper level questions. I'll show you, I didn't even have to rewrite it, but it gets kind of messy if I don't. So, not finished yet. All right. So, am I finished? No, because this is a perfect square minus a perfect square.
I think I missed a step because I don't know how you got 9 like b squared x in like that first group.
So, you mean like this right here?
Yeah.
So
Or how you got-
basically, yeah, and that's something else on some of this and trying to plan it to be like, 25, 35-minute lessons, whatever, and I've gone over every time. I miss out on explaining some things, which is why I really wanted to slow down and kind of hit the pause button today. I can reorder this however I want. So there's no really such thing. When I've got a polynomial with multiple variables, there's really no such thing as standard form. So I reordered this, and I saw this right away. Wait, 9b squared x, those look a lot alike. So I rewrote those first. And then what I did was notice 9b squared x plus 9b squared y, they have a common factor of 9b squared, and the x is first and the y is second. So I just rewrote this with the x first and the y second. So you can reorganize this however you'd like. If I kept it as 9b squared x minus, and I wouldn't even put the x because it has no common factors, I would put the minus 16x, I could still do it. In fact, let me go ahead and rewrite it. I'll show you this the other way. So if I rewrote it with my x's next to each other and my y's next to each other, my greatest common factor here is an x, and I'm left with 9b squared minus 16. And what can I get at 9b squared minus 16 is by pulling out a positive y. So that gives me this. And then I can, again, break this down even further. So I can do this multiple ways, but whenever you reorganize it, make sure that you can pull out a common factor. Other questions?
Can you do 88?
Sure. Read it off for me, please.
16a squared x
Okay.
minus 25y
Okay.
minus 25x plus 16a squared y.
So this is exactly like the last example we just did. So reorganize it, and you can reorganize it one of two ways. Notice here, I've got a 16 and a 25 and an x and a y, so I really don't want these two next to each other. I can move the 16ax squared, a squared x to this one and move these two together, or move these two together, but I don't want these to be next to each other. So the first step I would do is rewrite it. And notice I've got my x first here, my y, so I want my x first. Sign goes with it, and the y, and then it's the same thing. Greatest common factor. And what can I pull out here? And sorry, I'm going kind of quick because we've only got about 5 minutes left. And then you're going to break this down even further. It's a perfect square minus a perfect square. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, let's go ahead and do one last question. If anybody has one last question, I will do one last one. I realize I've done a lot of your homework with you again tonight, but we've got 5 minutes left, and I want to make sure I kind of wrap this up and put it up on Canvas before lunch. Any questions at all? Last one. Going once. Going twice. All right, guys. Hey, good job. Make sure you stay organized. Again, I know a lot of this is going to be on you, but while we're doing this, let's make sure your grades start off on the right foot. Okay. If you have any questions, email me. Other than that, you guys can go ahead and log off. Have a wonderful day. I'm going to end this here in about a minute anyways, just so I can go ahead and upload the video.